Hello everyone, time for another garden tour, and we'll start out with the infamous elderberry, or what I think should be an elderberry because that is what I planted. And I have shown this plant every single garden tour, and it is like a slug growing. Somebody tell me, is that an elderberry? Because if it's a weed, it's the slowest growing weed I've ever seen in my entire life. Anyways, let's move on to my calendula that's been blooming, and I've actually been harvesting these every single time I see them bloom, and I will get on those as soon as I can. And I've been tucking them away so I can make some salve with it. And my dill, I plucked all the flowers off because I didn't want it to go to seed yet, because I want to be able to use this for my dill pickles. And I should mention that every single time I show you guys my garden that I am not a gardening expert by all means. So I'm just showing you how I am gardening. I've never really been the person that has a good green thumb. That would be my mother. I always remember growing up with her gardens. And one of the things that I hated about those gardens is if I ever had to weed them. Because she always had huge, beautiful, big gardens. Take a look at my lettuce that I actually left. So I've been, I cleaned out this lettuce bed, and I left these so that they could go to flower and I could harvest the seeds. But they're actually doing really good, and so now I'm almost regretting that I tore up all of the lettuce. I should have maybe just thinned it out and then let it go, because we got a head growing right there. Pretty interesting. I thought for sure that they were going to die from the hot sun. All my strawberries are looking great. Again, my celery that I'm waiting to go to seeds so I can collect the seeds for next time. My chives, which honestly I haven't really done a lot with. I think we cut some, you can see down in here a little bit for one recipe, and it's actually looks like it's taking over my rosemary. My oregano is too. I've been plucking the heads off of all of these basils because I want to be able to put that in my tomato sauce. And I've been having some problems with some kind of grody worm that's been eating on it that Daniel killed the other day. I have no idea what kind of worm. Obviously, I'm not a garden bug expert either. I've really only had maybe 2 gardens ever in my entire life, and this is the second one. Obviously. Now, I knew the names of these. I actually saw these flowers on another YouTube channel, and I guess them falling over is pretty common. So what they did was they actually grew these flowers with another type of plant, and it helped hold it up. So you can see how they've all kind of fallen over. I guess that's pretty common. But look what just peeked out from all of these. See if I can. Here's in the shade, out of the shade. Oh gosh, that is just lovely. And this one is quite lovely too. Look at the red in the center. This is Daniel's favorite. Our little wind chime, or not chime, but windmill thing that our blind dog ran over and destroyed. So it doesn't really move anymore, but it sure does look pretty back in all of these flowers. I just can't believe how much these bees love these flowers. I don't know if you can hear them. They're just everywhere in here. Great for the garden. Look at these. All of these flowers came out of one seed pack. All right, let's take a look at the rest of the garden. So, I'm gonna call it big and bushy. You can see I've got some of these netting over some of the blossoms because I'm going to try collecting the seeds from these so that I can plant what I like next year. And so that that netting keeps the seeds from being hybrid, so that if something was cross-pollinated, again, I am not an expert. So if you have any questions about that, you're not going to want to get it from me, that's for sure. I'm just reading everything online about it and watching videos, just like probably the majority of everyone else. So my peppers are looking great. I have been harvesting a lot of these pepperoncinis and making refrigerator pickled ones. You can see them. Let me see if I can get to where, way down in there. I noticed that they will fall right over a lot of the branches. So I topped these. Basically, I cut the main stem off at a junction of some leaves, which then forces the plant to create 2 main stems. So you're supposed to get double the production, which I can honestly say that I do have a lot of peppers, but I noticed that the branches will fall down, and I've had to tie a few of these up. I know I've seen a lot of people actually use tomato cages to hold these up. You can see, like this one here, the branch fell. I actually had a couple of these peppers completely fall over, so I tied them to the fence and the poles and stuff like that. These are my Fresno, right here and here and here, and I am finally getting some Fresno peppers coming on. I was a little worried because these were the seeds that I just took out of a store-bought Fresno pepper, and I wasn't sure if they were going to work. Until I see one turn red and look like the store-bought, I'm still going to not decide whether it worked or not. And you can see all the cayenne peppers just hanging down all over the place here on these. So again, I think if you've watched my previous videos, that those are 6 pepperoncini, 4 Fresno, and 4 cayenne. And I don't know with everybody else's gardens that might be near me, but some of you guys might have had the extreme heat that we had a couple weeks ago, and it's destroyed quite a few plants here and there. Not necessarily in my garden, but I think it stunted quite a few in mine. I actually had some burned leaves and stuff like that. So some of my tomatoes kind of stopped growing. I mean, they have tomatoes on them, but they're not getting taller. Some are definitely getting taller. See, these ones are coming up, so they must not have gotten as damaged. And what kind of bug is that? Yuck. Don't know what it is, but get off. So they're doing pretty good. And for the most part, I think my Roma tomatoes are totally fine. I guess we'll see. So I just recently saw a video where someone said that you do actually need to prune these in the very beginning, and they suggested that you prune, I think it was all the suckers below the first flowers that you see, or 2 down from the first flowers that you see right off of the main stem. I guess the reason being is that if you don't do any pruning, that yeah, you'll get a lot of fruit, but the fruit will be small. Well, I didn't prune any of mine, so I guess we'll find out if they're going to be really small. So I don't know. You learn and move on and don't make the same mistakes next time, I guess. So while we're here, take the heads off these. So what's great about taking the heads off of those, apparently it tells the plant to produce more, and I can tell you that it has. Once I've started doing this, I have seen an increase in the flower production, so I think that actually works. And for now, I'm gonna just throw these off here. Pick them up on the way back. All right, well, we've been harvesting the onions. You can see lots of empty spaces, and we've just been pulling them as we need them. No biggie. Look at all those tomatoes down in here. I don't know if you can see them all, but it'll be exciting. I actually got a, a Ball Harvest Pro tomato sauce machine for my birthday, so I can put all my tomatoes through that to make sauce. That will take the seeds and the skins off. You see, this is one of the ones, if I can get out of the way here, that I think got too damaged from the sun. It is just really leathery and dry. I've shown that one before, and it hasn't gotten any bigger, though I do see a tiny bit of new growth. I guess we'll see. I'll show you a couple down the road here, or the path, or whatever, of ones where they got damaged too, but I let a sucker grow and they seem to be doing okay now. So tomatillas, so very cool. Now I noticed that on this one there seems to be a lot more of the tomatillas growing, and I wonder if that's because, you know, a lot of our wind is from the west, and so it's taking a lot of the pollen or whatever it is and blowing it over onto this one. There does seem to be a lot, though there is some over there too. So remember my very large, fast-growing tomato plant? Well, it's so fast that it's as tall as me, I would say. And I got to figure out what to do with it because it's no longer being supported, and it's kind of just hanging off of here, and I think it's going to probably tip over soon with the weight. So I think one of my empty sunflower spots, I might put another post in, and maybe at an angle to kind of help brace it. But let me show you something I was so excited about. Oh my goodness, before we do that, look at this. We have some tomatillas ready. Look at that. That is so awesome. You can see it just fills up that little husk. That is so cool. Now I think you're supposed to pick them before they fall off, but I don't know anything about tomatillas. So Let's see, how much water did we get? Oh, good. I've been trying to figure out how much water my sprinkler system is putting down to see if I'm watering enough. And so I put that out this morning before the sprinklers came on, or last night actually. But what I was trying to get to is, remember my stubborn tomatoes that didn't want to ripen? Well, one finally did. And I think I probably picked it a little bit prematurely just because I was so excited about it, but there's another one coming on. Now the pictures of this one show the tomato being very dark red with black stripes. So, I mean, I hope that's what it's supposed to finally do. So I'm just gonna let it sit there and see if it does finally do that. But you can see all of these on here. This has just been a great plant. Okay, this one is doing really well. And it also has, this is the Tigerella, I think, pretty sure. Yeah, Tigerella. And it's starting to show signs of having a ripe tomato. This is my green zebra, and these are hard as rocks still, so I'm assuming that they're not ripe yet. But this is the one that got really bad sun damage, so I ended up cutting it off here, and I let a sucker grow from right here, this one right here. Let's see if I can back up here. I can't see in the camera. I can't see what I'm filming at all because the sun. But anyways, so that one, I'm just going to continue treating this as the main stem. This one also did not do well after the sun. This one looks like it might be struggling a little bit too. And look at my sunflower. I have 2 of them that survived. I'm probably gonna have to stake this. Look at it, it's already fallen over and it's like not even hardly a foot. Okay, so I actually harvested, I don't know, about 4 beets. And what I found is these were kind of some kind of stripy inside colored beet. They weren't red, or at least not very red on the inside. And I made up a little refrigerator pickling brine for them, and I'm going to try them in a couple days, and if I like that brine, then I'll probably just go and buy beets, because this is not enough to really do anything. Oh, here comes Copper for a visit. Oh man, how you doing, buddy? Okay, on to the beans. I swear these haven't grown a bit. I thought beans were really fast growing, but I'm thinking there's something about the soil. It is very close to a tree. I don't know if that makes a difference. They might not be getting enough sun under here. I had thought about putting the trellis on that side, but then it would have been hard to see the entire garden when you're sitting over in those chairs, so I was a little selfish and said, nope, let's put the trellis on the other side so I can see all of the garden in its glory from my seat in the shade. And so, probably my fault that these aren't growing. Well, I'm sure even if it's not that problem, it's probably still my fault that they're not growing. But I do have a couple on this end that are doing pretty good. I had to replant these, like, I swear 5 times. I don't even know which ones are the Vortex and which ones are the Kentucky Wonder, and something ended up eating these. I found a huge slug this morning in my beets. Ugh, so gross. I think that's probably the thing I like the least about gardening is the bugs. One of these times I'll tell you guys a story of the hornworms that I used to play with when I was a kid in my mom's garden. I had a whole circus show and everything. All right, so these two beans plants are doing pretty good. I can actually see that we got some flowers right here. Hopefully this is focusing, and they are growing up the trellis. So that's good. So hopefully they will bush out and it'll just look lovely. Now my cucumbers are doing fantastic. We've actually harvested one. There's one over here that is actually ready to harvest. These are smaller. Well, maybe I'll show you when I get to the other side, but there it is for now. And I already measured my pint jars to kind of get an idea of when I want to pick them, because these are both good for, I think they're called Midwest maybe. But anyways, they're good for both pickling and just eating fresh. But what I found is that, let's see if I can do this. If I put it against my thumb and point my finger, and they reach the top of my finger, they're ready for picking, because that's perfect size for my pint jars. And Sun Gold cherry tomatoes. These are really delicious. Daniel and I have each had, I think, 2 a piece on here, and this is the one I'm just letting go up my trellis. It's the only cherry tomato that I'm growing. My other tomatoes are smaller. They're like a small to medium, like salad tomatoes for the most part. I did not grow any of the big beef sized tomatoes because honestly we don't eat that many big slicing tomatoes to actually take up space in the garden for them. So okay, let's go take a look at another view of the cucumber that's ready in here. There it is. So you can see it's right at the tip of my finger. So good to harvest. I'll probably harvest it a little bit later. All right, I'm not going to show you Daniel's roses today because they are done. I mean, you can see them in the distance, obviously. Lavender is looking pretty. I'm closing the gate here so I don't forget. You know, yesterday Daniel was like, oh man, we should have filmed it. But we went raspberry picking at a farm. It's basically you pick your own berries, which is great and all. We picked probably, well, I think it was 10 pounds total, but that's with the bucket. So I'm gonna say maybe 9 pounds. I mean, the buckets are plastic. And remember the pretty flower I was talking about that the hummingbirds love? This is a flowering bush, but they are so pretty, and the hummingbirds just go crazy over these. Yeah, there's a bunch of them on here. Let's go over the next plant over. This one looks like it's just about done flowering. Very pretty. Ah, and my favorite in all its glory. So gorgeous. Daniel actually says that this flower and all its vines would look very pretty as a tattoo up my arm. So that kind of sounds like a go, doesn't it? He's the one that actually told me to do it. I didn't even mention it to him. Okay, comfrey. You know, I've transplanted it over here, and it's getting big. Uh-oh, this one's looking a little sad. I'm Not sure what his problem is, but maybe I need to get all the grass out from around it. And they are in a lot more shade than where they previously were. Oh, my pumpkins too. You know, I have a sprinkler set up to go on these every, I think it's 3 days. I'm wondering if the sprinkler is not quite catching them. Gotta water them really quick. And blueberries, looking pretty sad. I don't know. It was kind of a gravelly soil, so Dana thinks maybe that might have contributed. But the raspberries are getting taller. Copper. All right, everybody, I'm gonna leave you with Copper. Oh, what was I gonna tell you? Oh, yeah. So I was telling you the story about where we went and picked our own raspberries. Well, yesterday I turned that harvest into raspberry jelly, so that was cool. I now have 5 pints of jelly in the pantry. And Daniel's like, well, you should have filmed it so everybody could see you do it. Well, this is definitely not how-to videos. I actually was thinking that these are more just kind of videos that maybe my future grandchildren might like to watch and see their grandmother doing new things, because I am definitely new at doing all of this, that's for sure. Okay, well, I'm going to leave you with the sound of all these bees. Everybody be kind and wander well.